The Shadow Dancers Guild Hall stood like a black tower against the neon lights of Nexus Prime. Inside the tower, killers from across the galaxy gathered to buy and sell death. The air smelled of metal and fear. Most beings walked quickly through the halls, keeping their eyes down. They knew better than to stare at the members of the most feared assassin guild in known space. Zara Cathvor sat in her private booth on the 15th floor. Her skin shifted colors slowly, matching the dark walls around her. This was the gift of her people, the Veiltar. They could blend into any background like living shadows. It made them perfect killers. She was reading through job offers on her data pad when the message arrived. The payment amount made her pause. 2 million galactic credits. That was enough money to retire and buy a small planet. She had been killing for 30 years. Maybe it was time to stop. The job details were simple. A human research team was working on a mining station called Outpost 7. They had stolen alien technology and needed to be eliminated before they could escape with it. 12 targets total. Standard elimination contract. At the bottom of the file was a warning in red text. Target species classification, Deathworlder. Exercise extreme caution. Zara laughed. She had killed members of over 40 different species. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only made contact with other races about 100 years ago. How dangerous could they be? She accepted the contract and sent messages to her team. Within an hour, 3 figures entered her booth. These were the deadliest killers she knew, and they owed her their lives. Kor was first to arrive. The Bruthan stood 8 feet tall, his gray skin covered in scars. Half his face was metal, replaced after a bomb had nearly killed him on Kepler Station. His right arm was cybernetic, strong enough to crush steel. He had been a gladiator before Zara saved him from the fighting pits. 2 million credits, Kor said, reading the contract details. What did these humans steal? The plans to build a new sun? Next came Whisper. The ethereal had no solid form, appearing as a blue mist that glowed softly in the dark booth. His people could turn to gas and pass through walls. They fed on electrical energy instead of food. Whisper had been cast out from his home world for feeding on his own kind. Zara had given him a new purpose. Humans, Whisper said, his voice like wind through metal pipes. I have heard stories. They come from a world where everything tries to kill them. Stories, Kor laughed. I have killed Kragan berserkers. And hive warriors. What can soft pink creatures do to us? The last to arrive was Talon. The insectoid clicked his 4 arms together as he entered. His black shell gleamed under the lights. The hive mind species shared thoughts with all members of their race. This gave them perfect coordination and the ability to predict enemy movements. Talon had been cut off from the hive for crimes his people would not speak of. The tactical analysis is favorable, Talon said, his mandibles clicking as he spoke. 12 targets on an isolated station. No military backup possible. Success probability is 97%. Zara nodded. The client wants it done quietly, no witnesses. We go in as a supply crew, eliminate all targets, and leave. Simple. She transferred the mission files to their data pads. The humans worked for something called Martinez Research Group. The leader was Dr. Jake Martinez, age 42, a xenogeologist who studied alien rocks and minerals. His security chief was Kate Sullivan, age 38, former military. The rest were engineers, technicians, and miners. Look at them, Kor said, studying the photos. They look so weak. No natural weapons. No armor. No special abilities. The security chief has military training, Talon noted. But human military doctrine is primitive compared to galactic standards. Whisper drifted closer to examine the files. The warning says they are Deathworlders. What does this mean? Zara shrugged. Some planets are more dangerous than others. Earth probably has big animals or bad weather. It does not matter. We have killed targets from death worlds before. She was thinking of the Kreven homeworld, where the gravity was 3 times galactic standard. Or the ice world of Hoth Prime, where the cold could freeze metal. Those had been challenging hunts. But her team had succeeded. When do we leave? Kor asked. Tomorrow. I have arranged transport on a cargo ship. We will pose as equipment suppliers. Once we are on the station, we split up and eliminate all targets within 6 hours. The team spent the next few hours reviewing station blueprints and planning their approach. Outpost 7 was built into an asteroid, with living areas, work zones, and research labs connected by corridors. It had a small docking bay and limited defenses, perfect for a quiet elimination. As her team prepared to leave, Zara remained in her booth. She called up everything the galactic database had on humans. Most of the information was basic. They came from a world called Earth in a system they called Sol. Their planet had many different environments and weather patterns. They were omnivores, who ate both plants and meat. They lived about 80 to 100 years. What caught her attention were the physical statistics. Humans were stronger than most species their size. They could run long distances without stopping. They healed quickly from injuries. They could survive in many different environments, but these facts did not worry her. The Bruthen were stronger. The Ethereals were more adaptable. The hive mind were faster healers. Every species had their advantages. She found a few reports from the human contact wars, conflicts from when they first met other species. Most were classified, but the summaries mentioned that human conflicts were unusually short and decisive. Other species seemed reluctant to fight humans for extended periods. Zara closed the files. Probably just propaganda. Every species tried to make themselves sound more dangerous than they really were. The next morning, her team boarded the cargo ship Nebula Runner. The captain was a Zentari smuggler who asked no questions as long as he was paid. The journey to Outpost 7 would take 3 days. During the trip, Zara noticed something odd. When she mentioned their destination to the ship's crew, they became nervous. The Zentari engineer refused to help with the final approach. The pilot requested extra payment for what he called hazard duty. "Why are they afraid?" she asked the captain. "Humans," he said, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "I transported some once, nice enough, but there was something about them. The way they moved, the way they watched everything. Like predators pretending to be prey. You are afraid of 12 researchers on a mining station?" The captain's tentacles twitched. "I have been flying cargo for 40 years. I have met warriors, pirates, and killers. But humans are different. They smile when they talk about violence. They laugh at danger. There is something wrong with their minds." Zara dismissed his concerns. Fear made people see monsters where none existed. Soon she would complete this contract and retire with enough money to live in comfort for the rest of her life. On the 3rd day, Outpost 7 appeared on their screens. It looked like any other mining station, a collection of metal, buildings and equipment attached to a dark asteroid. Lights glowed in the windows, showing that people were home. "Outpost 7, this is cargo ship Nebula Runner requesting docking permission," the pilot transmitted. "Nebula Runner, you are cleared for docking bay 2, came the reply. The voice was human, speaking in the standard galactic trade language with a slight accent. "Welcome to Outpost 7, Zara smiled. Soon the hunt would begin. The docking bay doors closed with a heavy thud behind the Nebula Runner. Zara watched through the ship's cameras as 2 humans approached the cargo ship. They wore simple work clothes and carried data pads. Nothing about them looked dangerous. "Remember," Zara told her team, "we are equipment suppliers. Stay in character until we can spread out and begin elimination." They gathered their fake cargo containers and prepared to disembark. Inside the containers were their real weapons and equipment. To any scanner, They would look like mining tools and computer parts. The airlock cycled open. The first human to greet them was a woman with short brown hair and calloused hands. She looked to be in her 30s. "Welcome to Outpost 7, she said with a smile. "I'm Lisa Parker, station engineer. Dr. Martinez is waiting to meet you in the main hub." Zara studied the human carefully. Lisa moved with confidence, her eyes taking in every detail of the arriving team. There was something about the way she carried herself that reminded Zara of soldiers she had killed. "Thank you," Zara replied, her skin shifting to a more neutral color. "We have the equipment your people requested." Lisa nodded and led them through the station corridors. The walls were metal and rock, typical of asteroid mining operations. But Zara noticed something odd. The corridors had multiple exit routes and reinforced blast doors. The lighting was positioned to eliminate shadows where attackers might hide. "How long have you been working here?" Cor asked, making conversation. "About 2 years, Lisa said. "Best job I ever had. Quiet, good pay, and the team is like family." They passed other humans in the corridors. A maintenance worker named Pete Johnson was fixing a wall panel. He looked up and nodded as they passed. His eyes lingered on Cor for a moment longer than normal. In the mess hall, they saw 3 more humans eating dinner. They stopped talking when the visitors entered, watching them with curious expressions. Zara felt like she was being studied. "Here we are," Lisa said, stopping at a door marked Central Hub. "Dr. Martinez is inside." The Central Hub was a large room filled with computers and display screens. Maps of the asteroid showed mining tunnels and ore deposits. At the center of the room stood a man with graying hair and intelligent eyes. "Dr. Jake Martinez," he said, extending his hand. "Thank you for coming all this way." Zara shook his hand, noting his firm grip. "We are happy to help. Where would you like us to set up the equipment?" "The main lab would be perfect," Martinez said. "Kate can show you the way." A woman stepped forward from behind one of the computer terminals. Kate Sullivan was taller than the others, with short black hair and scars on her hands. She moved like a predator, each step deliberate and controlled. "This way," Kate said, her voice carrying authority. As they walked, Zara noticed more details about the station. The air recycling systems had been modified for efficiency. Emergency supply caches were hidden in corridor walls. The humans had turned their mining station into something that could survive almost anything. "Expecting trouble?" Talon asked, his mandibles clicking. Kate glanced at him. "Always. Space is dangerous. Asteroids shift, equipment fails, pirates attack. Better to be ready for anything." They reached the main laboratory. It was filled with rock samples, analysis equipment, and computer terminals. Dr. Martinez and 2 other humans were already there, waiting. "Let me introduce the rest of the team," Martinez said. "This is Rick Torres, our chief engineer, and Jenny Adams, our geologist." Rick was a large man with strong arms and oil-stained clothes. Jenny was young with bright eyes and quick movements. Both watched the visitors with interest. "We can set up your equipment over here," Rick said, pointing to an empty area. "The power connections are already in place," Zara nodded. "We will need a few hours to properly install everything. Perhaps we could work through the night?" "Of course," Martinez said. "The station never really sleeps. Someone is always working." "Perfect," Zara thought. They would wait until the night shift when fewer people were awake. Then they could begin the elimination. The humans left them alone to set up their equipment. Zara's team opened the containers and began assembling their real tools. Weapons, sensors, and communication devices. Everything they needed to kill 12 people and disappear. "Something feels wrong," Whisper said, his gaseous form flickering with concern. "These humans are too calm, too prepared." "Prepared for what?" Cor asked. "They think we are equipment suppliers. Look at this place, Talon said, studying the laboratory. Every surface can be used as cover. Every tool can become a weapon. These humans think like soldiers. Zara considered this. Kate Sullivan has military training. She probably taught the others basic security. It does not change our mission. They finished their preparations as the station entered its night cycle. The lights dimmed, and the corridors became quieter. According to their intelligence, only 4 humans would be awake during this shift. Remember the plan, Zara said. Whisper takes the research lab. Core handles the engineering section. Talon covers the living quarters. I will eliminate the command center. No survivors. They split up and moved through the station. Zara made her way toward the central hub where the night shift supervisor would be working. Her skin shifted to match the corridor walls, making her nearly invisible. Meanwhile, Whisper drifted through the ventilation system toward the research lab. His gaseous form could pass through the smallest gaps. He had killed dozens of targets. This way, appearing inside locked rooms like a nightmare, he found the lab and began to materialize. The room was dark except for the glow of computer screens. A human sat at one of the terminals, his back to the door. Perfect, Whisper took solid form behind the human. It was Pete Johnson, the maintenance worker they had seen earlier. He was working on some kind of repair, completely unaware of the danger. Whisper reached out with his energy tendrils, preparing to drain the human's life force. This was how his people killed, stealing the electrical energy from their victim's nervous system. But Pete suddenly spun around in his chair. His eyes were wide, but not with fear, with anger. I knew something was wrong about you, Pete said. Grabbing a plasma torch from the workbench, Whisper was shocked. No one had ever detected him during materialization. He was supposed to be invisible until he chose to attack. Pete swung the plasma torch through Whisper's gaseous form. The superheated metal disrupted his energy patterns, causing him to scream. In pain, instead of running, the human attacked again. Security alert! Pete shouted into his communication device. Intruders in the research lab. Alarms began ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Zara heard the announcement over the intercom system. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Intruders on the station. The plan was falling apart. They had been discovered too soon. But Zara was a professional. She could adapt. She reached the central hub and found it empty. The night supervisor was gone. That was impossible. Intelligence said someone would be here. Looking for me? Came a voice from behind her. Zara spun around to see Kate Sullivan standing in the doorway. The human was not surprised or afraid. She looked ready for a fight. I do not know what you mean, Zara said, trying to maintain her cover. Kate smiled. It was not a friendly expression. Cut the act. I know assassins when I see them. The question is, who sent you? Zara's camouflage abilities were useless now. She drew her weapon, a molecular blade that could cut through anything. It does not matter. You will be dead soon. Maybe, Kate said, backing toward a control panel. But I will not die alone. She hit a button. Blast doors slammed shut throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. The air recycling system shifted to emergency mode. Zara realized with growing alarm that the humans had turned their mining station into a fortress, and they were trapped inside with 12 very angry Deathworlders. Over the intercom came Dr. Martinez's voice. Attention intruders. You have 30 seconds to surrender before we start hunting you. For the first time in her career, Zara felt something she had never experienced during a mission. Fear. The blast doors changed everything. What had been a simple station layout became a deadly maze. Zara found herself trapped in the central hub with Kate Sullivan, while her team was scattered throughout the station. 30 seconds is up, came Dr. Martinez's voice over the intercom. "Hope you said your prayers." Kate moved toward a weapons locker that Zara had not noticed before. Inside were not mining tools, but military-grade plasma rifles and body armor. "You were expecting us," Zara said, keeping her molecular blade ready. "Not you specifically," Kate replied, pulling on a tactical vest. "But someone like you. We have been preparing for months." Kate grabbed a rifle and checked its charge. Her movements were smooth and practiced. This was no civilian engineer. This was a soldier who had seen combat. "The technology we supposedly stole," Zara said. "It was bait." "Smart girl," Kate said. "We knew someone would try to kill us eventually. Too many people wanted our research stopped." Zara heard explosions echoing through the station corridors. Her team was fighting for their lives. She needed to regroup with them, but Kate blocked the only exit. Meanwhile, in the engineering section, Core was discovering that humans were much harder to kill than expected. He had cornered Rick Torres in the machine shop, confident that his cybernetic strength would make quick work of the engineer, but Rick did not try to match Core's strength. Instead, he used the environment as his weapon. When Core charged, Rick activated an industrial cutting laser. The beam sliced through the air where Core's head had been a moment before. "Stand still and die," Core growled, swinging his metal. Fist. Rick rolled under a workbench and came up with a plasma torch. "Come and get me, big guy." The human was fast. Faster than Core had expected. Every time the Bruthan tried to grab him, Rick slipped away. The engineer used his knowledge of the machine shop to stay one step ahead, turning every tool into a weapon. Core smashed through a control panel, sending sparks flying. Rick used the distraction to grab a container of industrial solvent. He threw it at Core's cybernetic eye, temporarily blinding the assassin. "You cannot run forever, human," Core said, wiping the chemical from his face. "Who says I am running?" Rick replied. He had been leading Core toward the heavy machinery. Now he activated a massive ore crusher. The machine roared to life, its metal jaws opening and closing with enough force to crush a small ship. Rick dove to one side as Core charged. The Bruthan could not stop in time. He crashed into the crusher's control mechanism, jamming his arm in the machinery. "Welcome to Earth Engineering," Rick said, hitting the emergency stop button. "We build things tough." In the residential section, Talon was having his own problems. His perfect coordination and predictive abilities were useless against humans, who did not follow standard behavioral patterns. He had tracked Jenny Adams to her quarters, expecting an easy kill. The young geologist should have been terrified and helpless. Instead, she had turned her room into a trap. The door was rigged with an improvised explosive made from mining charges. When Talon tried to phase through the wall using his species' limited phasing ability, he found that Jenny had lined the walls with metal mesh that disrupted his natural abilities. "I studied your species," Jenny called from inside the room. "Fascinating biology. Did you know that your nervous system is vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies?" She activated a device she had built from spare electronics. High-pitched sounds filled the corridor, sounds that made Talon's compound eyes burn and his coordination fail. "Impossible," Talon clicked. "You had no time to prepare such defenses." "We have had 2 months," Jenny replied. "Ever since we figured out someone wanted us dead." Talon tried to rush the door, but his movements were clumsy and uncoordinated. The electromagnetic field was disrupting his natural abilities. He stumbled and fell, his forearms tangling together. Jenny opened her door and looked down at the helpless assassin. In her hands was a modified mining drill. "Nothing personal," she said, "but you came here to kill my friends." Back in the research lab, Whisper was learning that humans could be creative with simple tools. Pete Johnson had not just survived the initial attack. He had fought back with a determination that shocked the ethereal. You feed on electrical energy. Right? Pete said, backing toward a control panel. Let me give you all you can handle. He rerouted power from the station's main grid through the lab's electrical systems. Sparks flew from every outlet and light fixture. The air filled with crackling energy. Whisper tried to absorb the power, but there was too much. His gaseous form began to destabilize. He was being overloaded. Stop, Whisper pleaded. You will kill us both. Maybe, Pete said. But you will go first. The human was willing to die to protect his friends. This was not normal behavior. Most species valued their own lives above everything else. But these humans seemed to care more about their group than themselves. Dr. Martinez's voice came over. The intercom again. Status report. How are our guests doing? Engineering section secure, came Rick's voice. Big Ugly is stuck in the ore crusher. Residential area clear, reported Jenny. The bug is down. Research lab contained, Pete added. The gas cloud is having power problems. Only Kate had not reported in. In the central hub, she was still facing Zara in a deadly standoff. Your team is finished, Kate said. Surrender. Now and I might let you live, Zara laughed. 3 against 12 and you think you have won? I am Zara Keffer of the Shadow Dancers. I have killed more beings than you have met. Maybe, Kate said, but you have never fought humans before. Kate moved with sudden speed. Not the desperate rush of prey, but the calculated attack of a predator. Her rifle fired, forcing Zara to dodge behind a computer terminal. I fought in the Centauri border wars, Kate said, advancing steadily. 3 years of combat against 5 different hostile species. You want to know what I learned? She fired again, destroying Zara's cover. The assassin rolled to a new position, her camouflage abilities keeping her partially hidden. I learned that most species fight to win, Kate continued. Humans fight to make sure the enemy never wants to fight again. Zara threw her molecular blade with deadly accuracy. Kate twisted aside, but the weapon cut through her rifle, destroying it. Now they were both armed only with backup weapons. You are good, Zara admitted, but I am better. We will see, Kate said, drawing a combat knife. They circled each other. In the red emergency lighting, 2 predators, each looking for an opening. But Zara was beginning to understand something that chilled her. Kate was not fighting to survive. She was fighting to protect her people. And that made her more dangerous than any assassin Zara had ever faced. Last chance, Kate offered. Surrender. Never, Zara replied. Then you picked the wrong species to hunt, Kate said. She attacked. With a fury that caught Zara off guard. Not wild or desperate, but controlled and efficient. Every move designed to kill or disable. This was not a scientist or engineer. This was a warrior who had been pretending to be something else. Throughout the station, alarms continued to wail. The humans had turned their peaceful research station into a battlefield. And somehow, impossibly, they were winning. Dr. Martinez's voice came over the intercom one more time. Attention remaining intruders, you came here to kill us. Now you get to learn why even the galaxy's deadliest assassins fear Deathworlders. For Zara, the lesson was just beginning. The knife fight between Zara and Kate ended when the station's power core began making strange noises. Deep rumbling sounds echoed through the walls, followed by warning alarms that were different from the security alerts. What is that? Zara asked, pausing her attack. Kate listened to the sounds for a moment, then smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. That, she said, is the sound of Dr. Martinez getting creative. In the engineering section, Rick Torres was explaining the situation to his captured prisoner. Core hung upside down, his cybernetic arms still. Trapped in the ore crusher machinery. Your friend in the power room made a mistake, Rick said. He tried to damage our reactor to cause a distraction. But our reactor is not like other stations. Core struggled against the metal that held him. What do you mean? We modified it, Rook explained, checking a datapad. Dr. Martinez wanted a power source that could survive anything. Asteroid impacts, solar flares, even sabotage attempts. The rumbling grew louder. Through the walls, they could feel vibrations that made the entire station shake. The reactor does not just shut down. When damaged, Rick continued, it gets more powerful. Much more powerful. Meanwhile, in the residential section, Jenny Adams was having a similar conversation with Talon. The insectoid assassin lay on the floor, his coordination still disrupted by her electromagnetic device. Your species relies on shared thoughts for tactical planning, Jenny said, sitting in a chair nearby. Fascinating adaptation, but also a weakness. Talon's mandibles clicked weakly. How do you know about hive mind biology? I studied every species file in the Galactic database, Jenny replied. When someone wants you dead, it helps to know who they might send. She showed him her datapad, which displayed detailed information about assassin species and their abilities. Veilter can camouflage but have trouble with rapid temperature changes. Bruthen are strong, but their cybernetics can be overloaded. Ethereals feed on electricity, but can be disrupted by too much power. And hive minds lose coordination when their nervous systems are scrambled. Talon realized the horrible truth. You knew we were coming. You knew what species we were. Not exactly, Jenny said. But we knew someone would send killers eventually, so we prepared for every possibility. In the research lab, Pete Johnson was helping Whisper understand his situation. The ethereal was trapped in a containment field, unable to shift to gas form. The field generates a specific frequency, Pete explained. It forces your molecules to stay solid. We borrowed the technology from prison ships. Whisper flickered. Weakly, trying to escape. This is impossible. No one has ever captured an ethereal alive. No one ever tried hard enough, Pete said. We had 2 months to figure it out. He showed Whisper a collection of devices and modifications throughout the lab. Each one was designed to counter a specific alien ability. We did not know who would. Come for us, Pete continued. But we knew they would be professionals, so we made this station into a trap. The power core sounds were getting louder. Emergency lights flashed faster. The station's artificial gravity fluctuated, making everyone feel lighter. Then heavier. Dr. Martinez's voice came over the intercom, but now he sounded different. More serious, more dangerous. Attention, assassins. Your employers did not tell you the whole truth about this mission. Let me fill in the missing details. In the central hub, Zara and Kate stopped fighting to listen. 6 months ago, we made a discovery, Martinez continued. Not stolen alien technology. Something new. Something that will change how the galaxy thinks about humans. The lights dimmed throughout the station. The rumbling became a steady roar. We found a way to weaponize our own biology. To turn the things that make us Deathworlders into tools of war. Kate smiled at Zara's confused expression. He's talking about the human survival instinct. The thing that makes us fight when we should run. The thing that makes us dangerous when we should be afraid. We discovered how to share it, Martinez's voice continued. How to give other species the ability to think like humans. To fight like humans. To refuse to give up like humans. Zara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's temperature. That is impossible. Psychology cannot be transferred. Can it not? Kate asked. We have been testing it for months. On ourselves first, then on volunteer subjects from other species. She pointed to a hidden camera in the corner of the room. Every moment of this fight has been recorded. Every decision, every tactic, every refusal to surrender. All data for our research. The power core sounds reached a new level. Now they could feel the vibrations in their bones. The reactor is not just getting more powerful, Kate explained. It is getting unstable. In about 10 minutes, it will explode with enough force to destroy this entire asteroid. Zara's eyes widened. You are going to kill yourselves just to stop us? Maybe, Kate said. Or maybe we will find a way to survive. Humans are good at that. Over the intercom, Dr. Martinez continued his explanation. The corporations that sent you are afraid of what we discovered. They do not want other species to think like humans. They like the galaxy the way it is, with most beings afraid of real conflict. In the engineering section, Rick was releasing core from the ore crusher. The Bruthan fell to the floor, his cybernetic arm damaged but functional. Why are you freeing me? Core asked. Because the station is about to explode, Rick said simply. Even assassins do not deserve to die like that. Rick handed him an emergency oxygen mask and a map of the station. Docking bay is that way. Your ship is still there. Core stared at the human in confusion. You are letting me escape? We are not murderers, Rick replied. We killed in self-defense. But if you want to leave now, you can go. The same thing was happening throughout the station. Jenny released Talon and pointed him toward the exit routes. Pete shut off the containment field holding Whisper. This is your choice, Pete told the ethereal. Stay and die with the station, or leave and tell the galaxy what you learned here. In the central hub, Kate backed away from Zara and lowered her knife. The exit is behind you, Kate said. Your team is being released. You have maybe 8 minutes to get to your ship and clear the blast radius. Zara could not understand what was happening. Why? We came here to kill you. Because that is what humans do, Kate replied. We fight when we have to. We show mercy when we can. And we make sure our enemies understand the difference. Dr. Martinez's voice came over the intercom one final time. Tell your employers what happened here. Tell the galaxy that humans do not just fight to win. We fight to make sure no one ever wants to fight us again. The power core was screaming now. Lights flickered throughout the station. The artificial gravity was failing in sections. Move, Kate ordered. If you want to live, move now. Zara ran toward the exit, her mind racing. She had never encountered anything like this. An enemy that defeated her, then let her go. An enemy that was willing to die to protect their research, then willing to show mercy to save their attackers. As she reached the corridor, she looked back. Kate was not following. None of the humans were heading for the exits. What about you? Zara called. Kate smiled. We have work to finish, data to transmit, messages to send. The station will explode. Maybe, Kate said. But humans are very good at surviving impossible situations. It is what we do. Zara ran through the corridors, following the exit signs. Behind her, she could hear the humans talking calmly to each other, discussing their final preparations like they were planning a picnic instead of facing death. She reached the docking bay to find her team already there. Core, Talon, and Whisper were loading onto their ship, all of them looking confused and shaken. What happened? Core asked, as they launched. I think, Zara said slowly, we just learned why they call humans Deathworlders. The Nebula Runner cleared the asteroid field just as Outpost 7 exploded. The blast lit up space like a small sun, sending chunks of rock flying in all directions. Zara watched from the bridge as the mining station disappeared in a ball of fire and light. They are dead, Whisper said, his gaseous form flickering with confusion. The humans chose to die rather than escape. No, Zara said quietly. I do not think they are dead. She was right. 3 days later, as their ship limped back toward Nexus Prime, they received a galactic news broadcast. The headline made Zara's blood run cold. Human research team survives station explosion, transmits revolutionary data across galaxy. The news report showed Dr. Martinez and his team being rescued from emergency shelters, built deep inside the asteroid. They had planned for the explosion. They had survived it. And during those final minutes before the blast, they had transmitted their research data to every major university and government in known space. The humans call it the Death Worlder Protocol, the news reporter said. A psychological conditioning process that allows any species to adopt human-style survival instincts and tactical thinking. Core turned off the news feed. This changes everything. He was right. Within hours of the broadcast, applications for the Death Worlder Protocol were flooding in from across the galaxy. Military commanders wanted to train their soldiers. Colonists wanted to survive on dangerous worlds. Even merchants wanted the human ability to negotiate under pressure. What do we tell the guild? Talon asked. Zara considered this. The Shadow Dancers had failed their mission completely. Not only had they failed to kill the targets, but they had helped the humans prove their point about Death Worlder psychology. We tell them the truth, she said finally. 2 weeks later, Zara stood before the guild council in the highest tower of Nexus Prime. The 5 council members listened in silence as she gave her report. When she finished, the chamber was quiet. For a long time. You are saying, Council Leader Vorth said slowly, that 12 human researchers defeated the 4 best assassins in our guild. Yes. And then they let you go? Yes. After destroying their own station to make a point? Yes. Vorth leaned back in his chair. The old Kragan warrior had commanded armies and killed thousands, but now he looked worried. What is your recommendation? Assassin Kethver? Add humanity to the Forbidden's target list, Zara said without hesitation. No contracts against Deathworlders, at any price. The Council will consider your recommendation, Vorth said. You are dismissed, but Zara was not finished. There is something else. I am retiring. The Council members looked surprised. Zara was their best operative. She had never failed a mission before this one. The humans showed me something, she continued. They showed me what it means to fight for something bigger than yourself, to value your friends more than your own life, to show mercy to your enemies. She placed her guild badge on the council table. I do not want to be a killer anymore. 3 days later, the Shadow Dancers Guild issued its first Forbidden's Target Directive in 50 years. The message was simple and direct, effective immediately. No guild member will accept contracts against human targets. Violation of this directive will result in immediate expulsion and forfeiture of all guild protections. Other assassin guilds across the galaxy quickly followed suit. Within a month, humans had achieved something no other species had ever managed. They had made themselves too dangerous for professional killers to hunt, but the real changes were just beginning. The Deathworlder Protocol spread like wildfire through galactic society. Within 6 months, the first non-human graduates completed their training. They thought like humans now. They fought like humans. They refused to give up like humans. The balance of power in the galaxy began to shift. Pirates found their victims fighting back with human-style ferocity. Corrupt officials discovered that citizens with Deathworlder training would not be intimidated. Military conflicts that used to last for years ended in weeks when one side adopted human tactics. A year after the Outpost 7 incident, Zara received an unexpected message. It was from Dr. Martinez himself. Dear Zara, the message began. I hope this finds you well. I wanted to thank you for the role you played in our research. Your team provided valuable data on how traditional galactic combat thinking fails against Deathworlder psychology. Zara read on with growing amazement. I also wanted to let you know that the first class of Deathworlder Protocol graduates included several former assassins. They have found new purposes in life, using their skills to protect instead of destroy. There is a place for you here if you are interested. The message included coordinates for a training facility on the human world called New Geneva. Zara stared at the coordinates for a long time. She had spent the year since Outpost 7 working as a security consultant. It was honest work, but it felt empty. She missed the excitement of her old life, but not the killing. 2 months later, Zara stepped off a transport ship onto the surface of New Geneva. The gravity was higher than she was used to, and the air smelled of growing plants. Dr. Martinez was waiting for her at the spaceport. "Welcome to Earth Colony Space," he said with a smile. "Ready to learn what it really means to be a Death Worlder?" The training was unlike anything Zara had experienced. It was not about learning new fighting techniques or weapons. It was about changing how she thought, how she approached problems, how she dealt with fear and stress and impossible situations. "Being a Death Worlder is not about being stronger or faster," her instructor explained. She was a human woman named Carol Blake who had served in the border wars. It is about refusing to accept defeat, about finding solutions when there should not be any. Zara learned about human history, about how they had survived ice ages and plagues and wars that should have destroyed them, about how they had turned their planet's dangers into advantages. "Every human carries the genetic memory of survival," Carol said. "Every human knows that giving up means death. That is what makes us different." The psychological conditioning was intense. Zara learned to think like a human when faced with overwhelming odds, to see opportunities where others saw only problems, to value the group over the individual without losing her sense of self. When she graduated 6 months later, Zara was no longer the same being who had accepted that contract on Outpost 7. She still had all her old skills, but now she used them differently. Instead of hunting people, she protected them. Instead of spreading fear, she taught courage. Dr. Martinez attended her graduation ceremony. "What will you do now?" he asked. "I am going back to Nexus Prime," Zara said. "Someone needs to teach the other former assassins what we learned here." Martinez nodded. "The galaxy is changing. More species are learning to think like Death Worlders. Every day, in a few years, this will be a very different place." He was right. 5 years after the Outpost 7 incident, the galactic crime rate had dropped by 60%. Wars between civilized species had almost completely stopped. Piracy was down 90%. The Shadow Dancers Guild had disbanded entirely. Most of its former members had retrained as security specialists or joined Death Worlder training programs. The few who refused to change found themselves unemployed. Nobody wanted to hire killers when their targets might fight back with human style. Determination. Zara opened her own training facility on Nexus Prime, the same tower that had once housed the galaxy's deadliest assassins. Now taught former criminals how to protect instead of destroy. On the anniversary of the Outpost 7 incident, she received another message from Dr. Martinez. It contained a single sentence that made her smile. "Even elite assassins run when Death Worlders show up. But the smart ones learn to become Death Worlders themselves." Zara looked out her office window at the lights of Nexus Prime. Somewhere out there, beings who had once been killers and criminals were now protecting innocent people. They had learned what she had learned on that mining station. Sometimes the best way to win a fight is to make sure your enemies never want to fight you again. And sometimes, the greatest victory is turning your enemies into friends. The galaxy was a safer place because 12 humans had refused to give up, because they had shown mercy to their enemies, because they had proven that being a Death Worlder was not about being the strongest or the fastest. It was about being